All right. Hello, hello. Please do join us. We're going through a session that will transform your relationship, that will help empower your relationship and your marriage to remain workable. If your marriage is workable so far, continue to add fuel to the fire so that it will continue to work. I'm going to encourage you to share this session today, as I will share it as well. I'm going to share my session as well. So I'm going to encourage you to share this session today. It's going to be a very empowering session. It's going to be a blessing to many. Those who take heed to this counsel is going to receive a major breakthrough in their relationship. So definitely share this on your social platform. Okay. I'm just sharing mine right now as we get started. I know some people, they're occupied right now, and there's some people that are free. So I'm leaning towards those who are free right now, and you can definitely come back. Those who are looking at the recap, God bless you. I am Coach Winston Cooper, your relationship and transformational coach, here to help maintain workability in your relationship. And as you begin to grow in wisdom and grow in the counsel of God concerning your marriage, you will succeed. Now, we told you before that it's very vital that the husband is engaged, involved in making this relationship workable, as well as the wife. As it takes two people in a marriage to make it workable. If one chooses unworkability and one chooses workability, it will not work. Marriage takes work, and it takes understanding strategies. And all the strategy means is a priority, prioritizing properly. Good to see you, Tech Nine. Bless you, Elder Everett. And so it's important and imperative that Christian marriages succeed and thrive. And if you're going to get back into a relationship, you want to thrive. You want to find a partner that's workable. And as you begin to take on this wisdom, get ready to enhance and grow yourself. We're coming from this book here, Making Your Relationship Workable. And there's some other tools that we have in store to be a blessing to your family, to be a blessing to your marriage, and to be a blessing to the relationship that you're in. I want you to write this down quickly. I'm going to write it down myself because I hear wisdom. Every time I show up well, I am one step to succeeding in my marriage. Every time I show up well, I am one step into succeeding in my marriage. One step to succeeding in my marriage. As you write that down, I want you to ponder that. Good to see you, Coach Jay. Elder Jason, good to see you, Take Nine. As you ponder that, I want you to think about that. Every time you show up, you're one step to succeeding in your marriage or your relationship. Some of you are engaged. And as you show up in a workable way, your marriage, your relationship will become workable. I think it was Woody Allen that says 80% of success is simply showing up. And I'm going to share some things with you that will help you show up in a workable way and in a thriving way. And before I get into that revelation of how you should show up, it's important that you understand questions. Excuse me, my phone's on. It's important that you understand the right questions to transform your mindset and to change your focus in making your relationship workable. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions. And if you have any questions to ask me, feel free to share those questions, because I want to deal with those questions in a powerful way. All right. And we do have a lot of content. If you want us to come to your church, come to a wedding seminar, a marriage seminar, engagement seminar, we are open to give you some divine counsel concerning how to make any relationship that we engage with workable. Let me skip this here real quick. Oh, I thought I did that. Okay. So we got so much content, so much rich content. Okay. But these are the questions I want to ask you. Let me get it real quick. Wait till some people get on. Okay. The first question I want to ask you is, what will it take for you to find the happiness you always wanted in your relationship? What will it take for you to find the happiness you always wanted in your relationship? Can you create your own happiness, or are you depending on your partner or your spouse to create happiness for you? And how does that happiness look? Really look at that question and consider that question. Those who are coming back on the recap, definitely look at these questions and consider them, because they will change your perspective on your marriage and on on how you perceive relationships to be workable in your mindset. Now, listen, the second question is, if you find that happiness, will you feel love the way you always wanted to be loved? So if you have not found that happiness, what if you do find it? Will you feel love because you found that happiness? Are you a person that's proactive? Can you create happiness by discovering happiness within you? And how would that impact your relationship? How would that impact your marriage if you were that individual that found happiness? Or are you looking for your partner to find the happiness for you? This is a very vital question, because if you're looking for your partner to create happiness for you, you're one step entering into an unworkable relationship. You have to begin to discover what is the happiness that you can create. Because once you discover your happiness, you are one step towards workability. So think about that question. Now, the third question I want to ask you is, what will it take for you to let go of your past? What will it take? How can you let go of your past? I'm talking about the past issues in your relationship. I'm talking about that past offense. You're still harboring something that your partner did during the honeymoon time. Or you're still thinking about your experience of never having a honeymoon, and that still has been gnawing at you, has been making you incomplete. Well, the question is, how can you let go of that past? How can you let go of how your partner hurt you? What your partner did to offend you or cause you to get into a state where you're not fully showing up in a lovable way? What is it going to take to let go of that past? What is it going to take to move from the past and step into the present so you can create a possibility that you desire? This is important because many people, they keep their past. Their past has held them hostage, and they allow their past to keep them in an environment that is limited, to keep them in a state that they cannot transform. So how can you remove yourself from the past issue, past story, past memory, and step into the present? The fourth question I want to ask you is, have you learned to protect your own boundaries? How does healthy boundaries look to you? Do you allow your partner to violate your boundaries? Do you violate your partner's boundaries? How does that healthy boundary that you have created for yourself to keep you in a peace of mind, to keep you in a state of tranquility, how does that look to you? Until you identify healthy boundaries, many people, especially your spouse, will violate it. Your children will violate it. They'll keep you in an unworkable state. So have you identified your healthy boundaries? Have you created healthy boundaries? Are you able to decline something that is affecting you emotionally and mentally? That's very vital. And are you able to respect your partner when they have created healthy boundaries? Or do you get upset? Do you pout? Good to see you, Take Nine. Good to see you, Brother Mark. Do you get upset or do you get disappointed when your partner has built a boundary that's healthy to their own self-development? Okay, now here's the good question. Will you ever let go of the need to control your relationship or how your partner should be? Because if you're seeking to control your partner, if you're seeking to impose upon your partner your expectations, at the same time you're disregarding their expectations, you're controlling them. And whenever you are controlling your partner or trying to control the relationship, how it should go, it's going to become unworkable. So will you ever let go of control? And here's the deeper question. How does letting go of control look? Are you able to let go of control? And some of us, we have control triggers where we become jealous, we become envious, we become suspicious of our partner. We sometimes want to compete with our partner instead of working with them. Instead of completing a project with them, we have certain control triggers that we put upon our partner. And when our partner does not do what we expect of them, then the relationship becomes unworkable. So the question is, how can you let go of that control? That's a very vital question, okay? Now, the sixth question is, will you ever dare to love your partner with all your heart? Not some of your heart, but all of your heart. What does it look like to totally yield complete trust to your partner, to totally serve your partner in a special way? And of course, we're talking to Christian marriages because we do believe the first foundation for a workable relationship is to believe in Christ as your Lord and Savior. If Christ is not Lord of your life, it's going to be very impossible or very hard for you to have a workable relationship that is spiritually sound and emotionally sound and physically sound. So are you loving your partner with all of your heart, which means that you have no fear of giving them perfect love, no fear of giving your partner yourself. And remember, we told you it takes two people to have this type of love, loving each other with all of your heart. You're willing to come into a win-win agreement, a win-win situation with your partner. That's very vital, okay? Because these 6 questions that I just proposed to you will determine how you will show up in your relationship. Everything, amen, that you are doing with your partner now, it is built upon, or is contingent upon how you're showing up. How are you showing up in your relationship? That is the important question. Because if you're showing up as a loser, I guarantee you, you're going to get losing results. And so in my book, here's some of the wisdom that I share in my book, Making Your Relationship Workable. We have another small book with it, and we also have a book that my wife wrote as well. So here is what I'm sharing in this book here. I said this: how you are showing up in your relationship determines how successful your relationship will be. The Bible says in Proverbs 18:24, a man that has friends must show himself friendly. And there's a friend that's still closer than a brother. So how you show up determines what you will attract. So it's important to know how you're showing up in the relationship. Are you showing up with offense in your heart? Are you showing up with bitterness? Or are you showing up with gladness? Are you showing up with appreciation? That is going to determine how successful the relationship will be. If you show up as a failure, guess what's going to happen? You're going to perceive the relationship to be a failing result. And so it's important to know, it's important to monitor, it's important to observe how you're showing up, because only one person controls your reality. That is you. You are the owner of your story. You are the owner of your reality. Now, if your partner shows up in a funky state, it's going to be very hard for that relationship to work. It takes both of the individuals to show up in a winning state for it to work properly. Now, I'm going to share 5 master keys. There are 5 master keys that you need to know in showing up properly. Let's on your take now. Hello, so I'm in need of some advice. I want to drink my wife's breast milk, but she doesn't want to. What should I do? Okay, Shay, I think you probably need to call a therapist or something like that. Just use some of your insurance and call a therapist, and they probably can help you on a higher line, you know. So, but anyway, well, thank you, Jake, now for showing up, Coach Brandon Gass and Coach BG. Now, the first master key is the results of your relationship are reflective on how both of you have shown up in the relationship. The results that is occurring, the results that is manifesting in the marriage is based upon how both of you are showing up. Now, the showing up that I'm talking about is the inner stance, that you have the inner paradigm, the inner ideology, the inner concept that you have allowed to show expression within your body. And if you have an inner stance that is set to not trust your partner, if you have an inner stance that is set to not appreciate your partner, when you do express yourself in the relationship, it's going to be an outcome that you really don't desire. So it's important that you look at the results. The results is based upon the performance. It's based upon the inner stance within the individual. Many people do not know that, and they do not realize that, or they are unaware that the results that they are receiving in their marriage is based upon how both people are showing up. Now, what if one person is showing up in a trustworthy state? They're showing up loyal. They're showing up appreciative. And the other partner is showing up nonchalant, disregarding the relationship, disregarding investing in the marriage. The relationship would not work. Now, that's important because you have to discern. You have to monitor if your partner is showing up right and if you're showing up right. And it's important that you begin to show up properly. Let's know you take now. It's important that you show up properly. Now, what if your partner doesn't show up right? You keep on showing up the right way. You keep on showing up in a workable state, because 2 things are going to happen. Either they're going to be replaced or they're going to transform. And you have to ask yourself a concept: are you more powerful in the relationship to influence your partner to show up in the right state? The second question that I want, the second master key that I'm going to share with you, this is important because this second master key determines what you are going to feel, or how you're going to feel, and what you're going to receive. And that second master key is the mood you are in determines the context and the flow of the relationship. So if you have a bad day, you're going to have a bad relationship. If you wake up with a mood of anger, then how you perceive your partner, you're not going to perceive them positively. You're going to perceive them negatively. So your moods determine how you perceive your partner to be. That's why you need to manage your moods, because there are days where you wake up, you don't feel like talking to your partner. I don't know if it's just me, but there are days that I do not feel like talking to my partner. So guess what I have to do? I have to alter my mood. I have to shift my mood and just and force myself to say good morning. Force myself to say, okay, I'm in a positive mood. Because if you let your moods control you and you do not control your moods, you become reactive and you become a victim in the relationship. And I guarantee you the relationship will not work, because you will think that it is your partner that has a problem when basically it is your moods that are uncontrolled. Greetings. I have a question. How should partners deal with each other? Kinks and fetishes. Okay. And kinks and fetishes, can you explain that? Kinks and fetishes, can you explain that? Yeah, managing moods. That's it, Coach Chase. Managing my moods is a tough one. It is. It is very tough, because the moods are literally controlled by you. They're controlled by your inner stance. And so that's why it's important to show up in a mood of love. It's important to show up in a mood of thankfulness, a mood of appreciation, because if you show up in that right mood, you're going to show up with the right vibration, and that marriage is going to be workable. You're going to perceive your partner as a positive aspect in your life, not a negative aspect in your life. And so the moods are very tricky. And many people have never learned how to control their moods. I have a king. I don't really want to share, but my wife doesn't want to partake. Okay, I get you, Co-Raven. So the king, if your partner is in disagreement with that king, then y'all have to have a conversation where it can come to a state where both y'all can win. Y'all can come into an agreeable state when it comes to intimacy. Because if they are disagreeing what you are desiring, then it can be a sort of control, a force. And you don't want that to happen, because that will continue to make the relationship unworkable. So you got to have conversations about, your desires, your fantasies, and talk to your partner authentically about that and see if y'all can come to a win-win situation concerning that. Other than that, if they are disagreeing with it, you have to continue to work on yourself until your desires are aligned to theirs and y'all coming into a place of harmony. All right. So don't let that unmet expectation cause you to be in a funky mood, Co-Raven. Your moods have to be positive in the relationship, and you expect it to be workable. Okay. She makes me feel shameful and embarrassed, which is not helping anyone. Okay. So notice what you just said, Co-Raven. She makes me feel shameful. Well, you don't want to give her that much power. And even women, you don't want to give your spouse that much power where they're making you feel a certain way. If they're able to control your emotions, then you have become the victim. That's why we're sharing with you that you control your moods. You control how your emotions are going to be driven in the marriage to make it workable. Now, if you give them that power, then that is a sign that you have chosen to become the victim. So you have to ask yourself, why am I making my wife, or permitting my wife, to make me feel shameful and embarrassed? That's the question you want to ask yourself. How did I get in a state where I permit my wife to make me feel shameful and embarrassed? When you ask yourself that question, your inner you is going to speak to you. Okay, so here is a third question. I hope that answers your question. We can still dialogue. The third master key is whatever you sow in the relationship is what you will reap. This is very vital. Whatever you sow in the relationship is what you will reap. Many people don't understand the law of agriculture. The agricultural law, or the law of the agrarian, is that if I sow seed into a field, the next step is to wait for the harvest. I cannot expect for the harvest to immediately come. I must keep on sowing seed, and then I must be in a season of waiting until the harvest comes. So if you feel like you're not going on a lot of dates, if you feel like there's not a lot of intimacy going on in your marriage, or if you feel like you are underappreciated in your marriage, you have to start showing appreciation. You have to start showing acts of love. You have to start initiating the date nights. Okay? It might take 2 months. It might take 6 months. It might take a year for you to see a harvest. But if you have faith to believe that what you sow, you will reap, the harvest is going to eventually come. So instead of getting to a state of complaining what your partner is not doing, or complaining what you expect your partner how you expect your partner to show up in the relationship, you start showing up as you want your partner to show up. Because the truth be told, you are a walking mirror. You meet nobody but you. So whenever you can start complaining about your partner, you are complaining about yourself. And you have to ask yourself, have I sown enough seeds in this marriage to get the harvest that I am expecting? So many people, they want a harvest of love. They want a harvest of appreciation in the marriage. They want a harvest of workability in the relationship without sowing seeds to make it workable and to make it fun and exciting in the relationship. So whatever you sow, you will reap. So you got to keep on sowing, even if your partner's not sowing, because that's going to bring a change in the relationship. No, I think Jesus puts it this way in Matthew 19, love your neighbor like you love yourself. So you must continue to love your partner like you love yourself. And that deals with respect, that deals with appreciation, that deals with love. So you got to love them like you love yourself. So if you're appreciating yourself, guess what? It should be easy to appreciate your partner. If you respect yourself, it should be easy to respect your partner, even if they don't respect you, even if they don't love you like you want to be loved. You got to keep on loving them like you love yourself. Because if you hate yourself, if you don't respect yourself, you're going to attract that harvest in your marriage. So this master key 3 is very important. You got to show up as a sower. I want somebody to write that down. I'm going to show up as a sower of love in my marriage. I'm writing it down myself. I am going to show up as a sower of love in my marriage. I'm going to sow seeds of love. I'm going to sow seeds of appreciation. Because when I sow complaints, when I sow seeds of negativity, seeds of offense, and seeds of unforgiveness, well, I'm going to reap a harvest of that. I think Jesus puts it this way in Matthew 7, verse 1, judge not and you will not be judged. So I'm not going to judge my relationship to be unworkable. I'm going to sow positive seeds in my relationship so that it can be workable. Thank you, Coach Jason. Now, there is another master key 4. This is very important. All relationships occur from the perceptional definition of it. Thank you, Coach Gabe. Listen, all relationships occur from our perceptional definition of it. What do I mean by this? Your perception of your marriage defines what you are receiving in that marriage. How you are perceiving that marriage, that determines what you are going to receive. So if you perceive it to be a toxic relationship, you're going to continue to receive toxic results. If you perceive that it's never going to work, it's never going to change, it's never going to transform, I tried this, I tried that before, it's never going to happen, guess what? You're going to receive those results. We talk to many people, we ask them how they went to counseling. Oh yeah, we went to counseling 2 or 3 times. And then we ask them, okay, how long was the counseling session? Oh, well, we went for 1 hour, 3 times. So for 3 hours, you expect 3 hours to change a 15-year marriage. You expect 3 hours of counseling to change a 10-year marriage or a 5-year marriage. So you went for 3 hours and you expected instant results within those 3 hours to really unlayer and break up all the unworkable patterns and faulty foundations that was established years ago. And because you did not get it within 3 hours, you perceive the relationship to be unworkable. Listen, that's not going to pan out properly. It's not going to cause it to be workable because that is unwise. If you have 14 years of marriage, 15 years of marriage, 5 years of marriage, imagine how many hours has been deposited in the relationship. Good to see you, Coach Lucinda. Yes, thank you for sharing that. So you got to keep on investing in counsel, keep on investing in uplifting conversations with your partner until your perception about the relationship is changing. Because if you perceive it to be unworkable, guess what? You're going to get unworkable results. So how are you interpreting your relationship right now? How are you defining your relationship right now? That's the question I want to ask you. Because if you define it as horrible, you're not going to reach out to counseling. And some of you are on here, you're showing up, and you're showing up in a workable state, but your partner refuses to show up because they tried it already. They heard this already. See, they have that mindset where they're thinking like that, and guess what? It's going to be a tough thing for it to become workable. We told you before, one of the laws, it takes 2 to make it work. How can 2 walk unless they agree? So the purpose of the teaching session, the purpose of giving you empowerment tools, empowering education, is so that we can transform your perception so that you have a different interpretation about your marriage. Now, here is the fifth master key. This is the last important one. A relationship can be transformed by simply showing up in the relationship differently. See, if you show up the same way every day, year by year, and expecting different results, you are an insane partner. See, a person that is arrested by insanity, they do the same thing over and over again, and they expect different results. So if you want different things to happen in your relationship, you got to show up differently. You got to choose to change your inner stance. Choose to change your inner paradigm and show up differently, even if your partner chooses not to. Because you have to choose workability on your own. Workability is self-work. Okay? Before it can become couple work, it must be self-work. So are you showing up differently in the relationship? Or are you still showing up every day as a complainer? Are you still showing up every day refusing to share intimacy? Refusing to share how you feel emotionally? Are you emotionally transparent with your partner? How's the conversation going on? See, because if you're not showing up differently, you're going to get the same results. And some partners, they will be influenced by you. It has to be the choice of one person to say, I'm going to show up in a powerful way. The partner that shows up in a powerful way will influence or change the game of the marriage. So if y'all both are not showing up as game changers, then the marriage is going to keep on playing the same game. But if y'all both decide to show up as game changers, then there will be different results. So these 5 master keys, if you continue to listen to this over and over again, I want you to do when I get off this live today, I want you to go back and listen to these 5 master keys, because your moods, your expectation, how you show up, determines what you're going to receive. What you sow into the relationship determines the harvest you're going to receive. So listen, you want your relationship to be exciting. If you want it to be enjoyable, keep on sowing acts of love, acts of kindness, acts of gentleness. Keep on initiating the date nights. Keep on sowing gifts into the relationship. Well, you might say, well, I want to sow another gift because my partner never gave me a gift. I don't want to buy them anything because they never bought me anything. And I get it. There's some partners, they never show PDA, public display of affection. They never give a gift on their birthdays or on your birthdays. They never give a gift on anniversaries, probably because they never saw their parents do it. Probably because their parents never shared gifts in their family. So they're just going by what they know. So everybody has a background or a reason why they do what they do. And you got to remember this. Your partner is not their behavior. You are not your behavior. So behaviors can change once a person is awakened. And don't make your partner their behavior. Understand that your partner is greater than their behavior. And so you got to find ways to break the mold, ways to break toxic acts and bring acts of kindness, acts of love in the relationship, and it will become workable. You will show up. If you show up in a winning way, then that marriage is one step to winning. If you show up as a loser, that marriage is one step to losing. So I hope that helped. Hope this helped you today. I hope that this empowered you today. And I'm going to go back and I want to talk to what's your name? Cole Raven. Yeah, so Cole Raven, I hope what I shared helped you, because there's other things we can share to you. When me and my wife, we can probably have a coaching session with you if you're open for that. Because intimacy, what goes on in that marriage, intimately wise, it takes a lot of conversations. You got to have a lot of conversations with your partner, which I agree on, because that intimacy determines how y'all going to be one, how y'all going to be connected, how y'all going to be unified. And so it's important that both partners understand the rules of intimacy in the bedroom. Okay, because if one person fouls or one person violates the rule of the partner or violates their boundary, then it's going to make that relationship unworkable. So there are even rules of intimacy in the bedroom. So you want to make sure that it happens and that occurs. And guess what? Nobody can show you. No other married couple can dictate what both you and your partner have agreed on in their bedroom. That agreement is based upon you and your partner. because you're not married to anybody else but your partner. So it's very wise and very important that you find agreement when it comes to rules of intimacy. Okay, so I will be back on later on. We'll probably have another session next week. I got 5 things I want to share with you next week. I'm going to deal with the 5 lacks. And these 5 lacks, if you become aware of them, you will know why your relationship is unworkable. And if you change those lacks and you fulfill it with enjoyment, you fulfill it in a positive state, then that relationship will become workable. So next week, if I have an opportunity to share a live with you, I'm going to show you 5 lacks, what makes a relationship unworkable. May God bless your marriage. May God honor it. And may both of you get into a place where y'all are thinking win-win. Y'all doing things in a win-win way. Not a win-lose way, not a lose-win way. I win, you lose, or she wins and I lose. No, y'all both are thinking win-win. If you have that in your mentality, everything else will thrive, that will become successful, and your relationship will become workable. This is Coach Winston J. Cooper. I'm out. Bless you. Before I go, are there any questions? Before I go, are there any questions? All right. God bless you all. I'll see you next week.